Warning, the following audio transmission is based on theory and is intended for entertainment purposes only. It's Doomsday and its affiliates will not be held liable for anything your dumbass does. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome everybody to Safety Sundays. Today is Saturday, June 24th, 2023. Time is 8:56 p.m. and joining me for Safety Sundays as always is SafePrep. What's going on, man?
You know, I wish everybody had the same pleasure I do, seeing you while we're doing this podcast, because I told my wife a while ago, I was like, the way you look up from left to right and just don't look at the camera, you look like Ray Charles playing the piano.
Do I?
Yeah.
So maybe I'll start doing this with sunglasses on. I just won't move my head.
Right.
So guys, today what we're going to get in, and hold on, full disclosure before we get into this. Build your bug out bags for your needs. The point of this episode today is to what not to put in your bug out bag. Shit that's going to be absolutely useless. Things that might be hyped up, that you think you're going to need, that you're going to waste money on, that are just frankly going to be bullshit. Right? So, with that being said, build your bug out bags to suit your needs. SafePrep, what do you think, man? What do you got for your bug out bag no-nos?
Man, I went like big and general. Because it's like you said, it's up to you. You have to know your skill level, what situation you're preparing for, terrain, time, travel, all that. So the episode's really about what not to put in a bug out bag. So I've only got like 5 here because we're short. The first one I'm going with is cheap gear.
Right. So, yeah, in regards to that, guys, there's a lot of knockoff shit when it comes to things like knives, medical supplies, shitty paracord. Don't buy something because, it's overly cheap and you could just toss it in there and forget about it. Right? There's a ton of garbage on the market that they're marketing to survivalists that's just crap, right? And they're remaking stuff and repackaging it, and it's garbage.
If you want a piece of gear, do the research. Find you something on the lower price end, the mid-priced end. You don't have to spend a whole lot of money, but reliability and durability will matter if you have to start using those tools.
So let's talk about some of these cheap tools and things. Let's get into some of that because there's certain tools that I see repeatedly marketed to survivalists. And the one is that goofy multi-tool hammer thing. Have you seen this thing?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like a hammer on top and a multi-tool on the bottom. Guys, fucking avoid those, right? Having a multi-tool is good, like a legit multi-tool, like one that is well-made and that is quality. It's not going to be cheap, but having a good multi-tool I would recommend. But these stupid things with the hammers on top, everybody's like, oh my God, that's ingenious. It's everything you need in one. Stupid. Yeah, let's take our knife and use it to beat things with our screwdriver, and then when we break that thing, we're screwed. And then when we lose that one tool, we're screwed.
It's gonna half-ass whatever project you're trying to complete with it.
Right. And you don't want to half-ass Doomsday.
No.
So that's the one thing. And then the other thing I see people do, and this drives me nuts, and I've went down this road with a few people. Guys, good quality knives. I know you have people out there that are like, if it's not a K-bar, it's not worth getting. But what I'm talking about is like these cheap gas station style knives that are made out of freaking stainless china.
Anything in the survival camping aisle at Walmart, don't get it.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. I mean, I'm not gonna knock certain things. Like I'm not gonna knock a Gerber. Honestly, like my top favorite knives are either made by Buck or Smith & Wesson. Those are the ones I typically buy, right? My buck knives have done me very well. My Smith & Wesson knives have done me very well. So I'll stick with those, right? They've proven to be very well, and I've had them for years, you know?
Yeah.
But there is something to be said about, you know, just having a good fixed blade knife versus putting a butterfly knife in there or putting an assisted open one in there or anything like that, right? If it's doomsday and shit's hitting the fan and you're bugging out, I would much rather have a fixed blade knife as opposed to some lock blade knife I got at the gas station for $9.99.
Right.
Avoid the cheapo knives, man. Yeah. What else you got? I got some more things, but
too much weight.
Yes, let's talk about that. So, SafePrep, did you know that your bug out bag should not exceed 25% of your body weight?
That's on the high end.
Yeah. Well, should not exceed.
if you're gonna be, you know, humping it and hiking it and walking a lot.
Right.
If you look at backpackers, they try to keep it between 13 and 20. And that's one of the hardest things for me because I'm a gear guy. And if you don't, you know, when you put your bag together, you have to go out and at least walk around the neighborhood and walk around your yard. And man, you got to watch the weight.
Yes, you do. And okay, so let's talk about this for a second. I'm all about canteens. I'm all about collapsible jugs and things like this, but there comes a point where you're overdoing it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by this is you do have people out there that have this mentality, well, when I come across a water source, I'm going to take from that water source as much as possible. I understand having collapsible bottles and things like this, but I'm going to tell you what, if you guys really honestly think you're going to have 2 or 3 1-gallon collapsible jugs in your bag, and you're going to fill those, and you're going to truck it through the woods with a gallon of water, 2 gallons of water, you're not going to get far.
What's water? 8 pounds per gallon-ish?
Approximately, yeah. So, I mean, throwing that extra 8 pounds on your back or doing 2 and doubling down and being close to 17 pounds, you don't want to do that. You're not going to want to carry that weight.
No, you're full.
Now, having a decent Camelback bladder or a decent canteen or even having a refillable plastic bottle, you know, I mean, when it comes to the gallon jugs, the collapsible ones, I could see having one. So you could store water when you get where you need to, but having multiple of these in your bag is useless, right?
Yep. I keep a Grail in my get home bag. I keep a stainless steel single wall in my bug out bag and stuff for water filtration, you know?
Right. Exactly. And I mean, that should be all you need. I mean, like, let's think about this logically. If you're in that bug out scenario, your bug out scenario is to get to the place where everything you for what you need. This is not an inch bag. This is a bug out bag.
Yep.
Right. So your destination you have in mind, all this extra shit should be there.
Absolutely.
You get what I'm saying? The next thing I want to throw in there, since you brought up water filtration, listen, I'll tell you what, SafePrep, I have developed a hatred of the life straw.
Want to be a guest on the show? Email itsdoomsdaypodcast@gmail.com. That's itsdoomsdaypodcast@gmail.com.
A life straw or the Sawyer Mini?
No, not the Sawyer, the life straw.
I don't even have the life straws because I don't like them so much.
Listen, I've gotten these things where they were defective, you couldn't suck through them, and then I've also came to this realization in my mind, and everybody out there, if you got a life straw in your bag, replace it with a Sawyer. I highly recommend doing that. The thing that's bullshit about the Sawyer specifically is you cannot filter water and take it with, or not the Sawyer, the life straw. Shit. You cannot filter water with the life straw and take it with you. You have to drink from the source. And if you have contaminated water and you're putting it in your vessel is now contaminated as well. And yes, could you take contaminated water with you and drink from it, from that vessel? Yeah, you could.
So a Sawyer Mini is only $4 to $5 more than a life straw. A life straw filters 1,000 gallons because you can't flush it. A Sawyer Mini filters up to 100,000 gallons because you can flush it.
Right. So, yeah, what is it again? 100,000 gallons per Sawyer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and you could flush this, you could filter this, you could take this with you, you could filter water into another vessel. I just think it's way better. So avoid
Absolutely.
any life straws out there that you have to utilize from the source. You can't take the source with you. Avoid putting those in your bags.
That's a good point.
Absolutely.
You're long-winded tonight. I'm giving you the rest of mine so you can get to yours. So,
Bold
a
of you
heavy
to assume
sleeping,
that I
a
had
heavy
more.
sleeping bag. Don't put in your bug out bag. The wrong clothes for the season you're bugging out in. Don't put those in your bug out bag. And a heavy tent.
Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about a few things here. So that you have I guess multiple people that will tell you have a tarp, use that for your shelter, don't have a tent. And then you'll have people that tell you, "Oh, don't have the tarp, have the tent," right?
Mm-hmm.
And I look at it like this, guys, it is specific to your needs. It will not hurt you to have both because a tent is going to protect you from bugs and different insects and mosquitoes and other shit like that as to where a tarp's not going to.
And so a scenario where the tent would be a really good idea because they are going to be bulkier and heavier is if you're bugging out in a group and you can divvy up between the group what they're carrying. One person needs to carry the tent and the other people can pack out more gear.
Right. So something else I wanted to throw in with this too is, guys, heavy tools in general, you don't want. If you have it in your head, I am taking a hatchet with me, and this is what I'm going to take because I feel like I need it for bushcraft or I need it for, any other type of survival, splitting firewood, etc. That can double down as other tools. That could be a hammer, so you don't need a hammer, right? Basically, what I'm getting at is learn how to multi-use things, right?
Yes,
a hatchet is
absolutely.
not just a hatchet; it could also be a hammer. But I'll tell you what, I'll go ahead and I'll say screw both those things, and I'll use a rock for a hammer, and I'll burn firewood down, right?
Yep.
I mean, you'll find tinder that you don't have to break up. And that's something else I was going to say too. So a lot of people have it in their head where they plan on bringing fire starting kits with them. This is a good idea. I'm not knocking the fire starting kit, but do understand that these are limited use and they do run out. So get very crafty with what you have. Get something that's going to last long. I freaking love the Blackbeard stuff, like the fire plugs.
Same here.
Yeah, tons of use. Like I mean, Blackbeard's got it right when it comes to the bug out stuff. They really
The fire plugs are quick.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is the ferro rod because that's like thousands of fires and those things are super small and lightweight.
Right. So just these are some things to think about. Avoid you remember the old school fire bricks, like the ones that you would light. All right, avoid those is basically what I'm saying. Avoid stuff like that. We have better technology out now with better fire starters that are lightweight, that are less bulky, that have multiple uses. So avoid the compressed fire nuggets. They're garbage anyway. Once they absorb moisture, they don't work anymore.
Yep.
So avoid those as well. There was a couple other things I had in here. I got to pull them back up. Oh, so here's the other thing too. I see a lot of people wanting to utilize survival shovels. Guys, you could dig a hole with a stick, right? I mean, depending on what you're needing to dig for, like if you got to dig, like if your mind is like, oh, I'm going to make a Dakota fire hole. Yeah, having something good to dig with is definitely going to help you. But the idea that you're going to need a shovel with you to bug out is kind of a infantile thing. SafePrep, how many times have you been in the woods just screwing around and been like, man, I wish I had a shovel to dig a hole?
Not yet.
Yeah. So avoid the shovel. I mean, it's not something I think that you're going to need. Also, this is something else, man. The seed vaults, the seed banks. Seed banks are great to have in the event of shit's hitting the fan, but if you're bugging out, you're not planting a garden along the way.
If you're building an inch bag, that kind of stuff's good. And if those of you don't know what inch is, I'm never coming home. That's the long-term wilderness stuff where you're going to have to go, live in the woods for the rest of your life.
Now, these are the situations, all these things we're talking about kind of avoiding. These are things you would have in the inch bag, right?
Yes.
But not in your bug out bag. Again, this is a bag to get you from A to B, and that's it. Something else I will say to avoid carrying on you. And I'm probably going to get some hate for this, but whatever. Guys, having valuables or cash in a lawless society in a bug out situation is not going to do you any good. Don't think that you need to keep $1,000 in that bug out bag. It's not going to do you a dick of good, right?
Absolutely.
It's not. If you want to have a lightweight little side bag of barter and trade items, there you go. But I mean, even in that bug out scenario, again, you're trying to get from A to B, right? If you got to sacrifice toothpaste along the way, oh well, you got toothpaste where you're going, right?
If we're talking about a bug out bag in a SHTF situation where you're going from A to B, you really have to just go with essentials and basics. There's
Right.
not a whole lot of room for fluff because that's going to slow you down. And if the bag's too heavy along the trail, you're going to start throwing stuff out of it that you didn't need in the first place.
Exactly. And so, and this is the thing too, you know, a lot of people don't go out there with these bags and test out the things, you know, test out the weight and how long they can go with these bags and, you know, things like that. Another thing I'm going to put in there too is, guys, I would much recommend having rechargeable items in there with a way to recharge versus having a shit ton of batteries. That would be something else I would recommend. Also, a lot of people recommend having dry bags in your bug out bag. And I don't see the need to have a dry bag if you have a garbage bag in there, right?
One more thing I didn't write down, but I remember from earlier. Canned goods is not good to put in a bug out bag.
Oh, hell no.
They're heavy, guys. There's so many better options out there. Emergency survival food, dehydrated stuff, ready wise, stuff that you can just add water to and cook over a fire.
Exactly. And if you forget your can opener, you're going to starve to death.
This is an emergency action message. At approximately 1 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, NORAD is tracking 15 ICBM nuclear missiles inbound to the following cities: Orlando, Miami, Pittsburgh, Dover, Newark, Richland, Philadelphia, New York City, Baltimore, Los Angeles, Las Vegas, Boston, Seattle, Detroit. This is an extremely deadly situation. Stay tuned. The next emergency message will be a presidential address.